Hello, Noble! Thank you for checking out our second interview that we've had so far, and I'm super excited to announce our guest, okay? Our guest today is a published author and artist. He leads cartooning workshops for children and teens in libraries and schools, as well as for teachers who want to bring comics into the classroom. How cool is that? He has podcasts about comics and how to make them. He has drawn special projects for Glencoe McGraw-Hill, Marvel Comics, was at VIZ Media, and others. He'll be teaching all day today at this school at Noble. And thank you so much for joining me today. Jerzy Drozd, how you doing today, Jerzy?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Eric. It's really nice to be here.
Man, so wonderful to have you. What a special... Man, our school, we have such cool things, having people like you come and to do special classes. We don't know what to expect, and then someday you show up to school and we have a cartoonist joining us. And that brings me to my first question here. We've got lots of aspiring artists at our school, right? We got kids, and when I think, if I wanted to be a teacher, I know what to do, right? I go to school, I definitely focus on, my instruction at school, and then we go to college and you do your student teaching, and then you get into the classroom. But being a cartoonist, that sounds like maybe a little different process. How does that work out maybe for typical artists, and how did that work out for you?
Well, it's one of those things where if you just draw every day, you get good at it no matter what. That's the first thing. It's practice. It's all about practice, right? When you get on a bike, you don't say, where do my feet go? What happens now? You just know. It's that you practice it enough that it becomes an intuition. It's the same thing with drawing. But the other thing I would add is that what helped me a lot was falling in love with reading. I actually loved reading comics first, but then I fell in love with reading books and falling in love with stories in general, whether it's a film, a cartoon, a video game. I was always thinking about, how did they make me feel that feeling? So paying attention to what I'm feeling when I'm reading or watching a story, and then asking myself, why did I just feel that? What did they do to make me feel that? That was what really helped me as a cartoonist, because it's all about thinking about how we show information to an audience to make them feel things, which is what the artist's job is.
That is so cool. And you mentioned earlier on the morning show about how the shapes and the lines are kind of the adjectives that we use to tell our story, to get us to feel those feelings. And I think that too, like if I'm watching a horror film, I get very afraid. But then to calm myself down, I go, why is this so scary? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Is there maybe something that you could do? I love this idea of being a little bit scared reading and with comics. Are there certain shapes that you can make that? Is that like a build-up, or what can we do to make someone get a little bit spooked from looking at some pictures?
Yeah. So, pointy shapes, generally speaking, make us think of things that are dangerous and dynamic. I did not say evil. I said dangerous and dynamic. So when you look at Disney villains like Maleficent, she's got these horns off the top right. Her face is very pointy and triangular. You look at characters like Hades in the Hercules movie has pointy teeth.
Cool.
There's all sorts of animals in the animal kingdom that have points all over them that when we see it, we say that's very dangerous. So if you put that on a character, it tends to make them feel more intimidating or menacing or frightening.
Oh, I like that. I'm thinking of Darth Vader with his kind of triangle, pointy mouth shape. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, now I know what to do. I got it all figured out now, right? You take so much effort. You do this not just with us, but in other schools too. Why is it that you find, what motivates you to bring comics into the classroom?
Well, it's my favorite language. It is a visual language, and it's a language that I think all sighted people naturally speak. But we're not always taught the syntax and grammar of it. Like, how do these shapes work together with color and line and size to all make us feel things? And when we take a character, I'll draw like Charlie Brown, and I'll put a scribble above his head, and we'll all say, oh, he's very angry. And it's like, well, how do we know that? That's weird that we all know that. We know that a scribble above the head means angry. Like, it's like a black cloud come out of his head. Well, if a black cloud came out of your head, we would call an ambulance. But in a cartoon, we think that it's absolutely natural, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a language that we all speak. So I love making that language more visible to people, both to the students and to the teachers, because also understanding this stuff makes you a better reader. It makes you a better writer. It absolutely collaborates with other subject media. One of the books I did was about the history of rockets, which is a comic book about science.
Yeah.
And comics are really good at explaining science. So, because it's a visual way of talking.
It sure is, right, yeah. And with science, a lot of our understanding of science is from observation and seeing it. And so that naturally I think as a progression into the classroom. That's pretty cool. Something that I noticed when I did some research, speaking of that book that you mentioned, what is it, the Science Comics Rockets?
That's right.
You collaborated with your wife, right? And that is so cool. I think about that. I do some art with my wife too, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is that like, is that an ideal situation, workplace, or does it actually take maybe some more emotional intelligence? Because that's a big project to publish a book. I imagine some maybe hard work and late nights, and maybe you need some space. I don't know. How do you navigate those waters when after the workday is done, you punch out, you're hanging out with the same person?
Right. Well, I mean, it helps if you really, really like your partner.
Yes,
So
that's
that'd be the first ingredient. The second one
yeah.
is I think you're right. There is a mutual respect that has to happen, and an emotional intelligence of being able to understand what the other person is feeling, and be able to understand what you're feeling, and be able to say what you need. That was a big part of it. Because it was 2 years we were working on that book together.
Wow,
it was a long time, and a lot of our date nights were going to the library. We would go to the library to do research for this book we were writing together. So it meant that it was a lot of hard work and studying, but it was also a lot of time where we had to say, I'm feeling like this right now, I'm feeling like that right now, I'm feeling like I need to be alone, or I feel like I need to go for a walk. Can we go for a walk? We just had to be very explicit about what we were feeling, so that we could support each other in this really long process.
Yeah, right. And I think that translates to working with anyone, like in our classrooms. We got to keep that in mind, right? Whether or not we get along, and every project we have every day, we got to see each other the next day too. In the same class, we're gonna do it all year long, right? Yeah. So that emotional intelligence, that's very smart. I like how that you put that into work. I noticed that with the Science of Comics, you said you worked on that for 2 years, right? And the Warren Commission report, another one that must have taken a ton of research. Is that part of the process, a big motivation for your art? Because I know I have some friends that they just start drawing and then it kind of becomes something. But to me, it seems like maybe you have more of a thoughtful side to the art that you're creating.
That's kind of you to say.
Well, is that part of your process? Is that like what motivates you, I guess is my question.
Like one of the things I love about comics is that a comic, let's say it's a 200-page comic. I just finished a 200-page book that comes out next October. And in it, I introduced a character, the main character was a horse, which meant I had to draw a horse 1,000 times in that book, right? So now I'm really good at drawing horses, right? I wasn't when I started.
Oh, cool.
So like every book gives me an opportunity to level up at something. And this is the thing I tell my students all the time is that if you loaded up your Switch and you put it, launched a game and it said you won before you ever pressed the button, you would never play it again.
Boring, right?
It's counterintuitive, but having just the right amount of challenge is what makes learning awesome.
Yep.
And that's how games work. Games try to challenge you just enough so that you want to do more. And I feel like a life in art is very much that kind of life of just like constantly leveling up. And I tell my students, I get very excited when I find out that I don't know something.
Yeah.
It's a thrilling moment for me. Like, oh my gosh, tell me more about that.
Yeah, right.
This is gonna be cool. I'm gonna level up at something today. So I don't feel shame when I don't know something. I feel excited about it.
Oh, that's great. Continue to level up. I never thought about that. Like a video game connection. When you start at the beginning of the video game, you don't know anything, and you continue to level up, and by the end, hopefully your character and you are smarter and stronger, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that idea. If you're not making mistakes and fixing them, then you're not learning, right? Yeah. So that's part of that process, and your inquiry is a big part of what we do here at Noble, and that translates well to our process too. Let's see. I noticed that you are on the Ohio Arts Council's Teaching Artist roster. What is that? Oh, that sounds important.
Maybe. It's a cool project. I mean, so the state of Ohio, the Ohio Arts Council offers these grants to schools to place teaching artists like me in the school for like 9 weeks, 16 weeks, even a year. I'm doing a year-long residency at one school.
Oh, cool.
And it costs the school nothing except to write the grant to bring the artist in. And so I think it's a really powerful thing that the state of Ohio is doing, and especially the Ohio Arts Council, the Ohio Alliance of Arts Educators, and other organizations like that who really value the arts as a essential teaching tool and want to help assist schools in enriching their curricula through arts integration. And so that's what I do
really
year
cool.
round. Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, man, that sounds like an awesome job. And congratulations being part of that project.
Oh, thanks.
That's really cool. I got a follow-up question, all right? You're part of the Ohio Art Council's Teaching Artist roster, yet you live in Ann Arbor.
I don't live in Ann Arbor.
You don't?
No, I moved to Ohio on purpose. I defected, everybody. I used to live in Ann Arbor. I lived there for 15 years, but I chose to move to Ohio.
Oh, you came to us. This is where you want to be.
This is where I chose to be.
So where are your allegiances right now? Are you a Buckeye guy, or are you the team up north type of guy?
My wife works for the Ohio State University, so we're Buckeyes, but I'm more of a baseball fan.
Okay.
I love the Columbus Clippers and the Akron Red
So. I like how you didn't actually answer the question. I'm going to give you a pass on that, all right? We're Buckeyes people around here. But I like that answer, right? The Clippers are good too. I kind of want to backtrack a second because I was thinking about grant writing and that process. And now we have AI can just kind of do that for you. Now I have lots of artist friends, and AI is a hot topic. Okay, where do you feel like AI is taking us as an artist? Do you feel like threatened by the AI idea? Because I mean, anyone's job projected forward, we're talking about robots and things making life easier.
Yeah.
Where do we all fit in the future? But specifically with drawing, I can talk into a microphone onto my computer and say, draw this for me, and something pretty cool can pop out, right?
Sure.
How do you feel about that?
Well, we kind of talked about this in the morning news about this idea of falling in love with reading is kind of important, right?
Yep.
And my skill as a cartoonist, is really, yes, it's about drawing. That's a part of it. But there are much more famous and much more successful cartoonists than me who really can't draw that well.
That's right.
So, and I use the examples in my classroom all the time that it's really not about drawing as much as it is about understanding human nature and understanding story and being able to communicate that. So I don't feel terribly threatened by it yet because it's still early days.
Yes.
But also, I've been doing this for 25 years. And in that 25 years, I've seen two major technological upheavals. First, digital pre-press publishing, and then the internet.
Yeah.
Which both times, the comics industry kind of wrung its hands, going I wonder if there's even going to be comics.
Yeah, right.
And we're still here. So, I mean, I don't want to be arrogant about it, but I do think that there's adaptation is the name of the game. Especially we're in a school where teaching is all about adaptation. Learning is all about adaptation.
Yeah.
That's what we do, right?
Great.
So I feel like it's just another invitation to adapt. It's going to be ambiguous and probably scary sometimes, but that's what being a human being is all about, is navigating that ambiguity.
Right, yeah, and the confidence that you're talking about here, I think, is also a part of this. You're not afraid to learn new things and to try new things, and I also made the connection for what you mentioned. The humanness is what makes art so appealing. So we can make pretty things, but what kind of story does that tell? Where's the human behind it? Also, you ever seen AI try to draw a hand? You can't figure that out, right?
We're still a ways away.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Yes.
Hey, I couldn't help to notice on your resume, and I'm sure everyone probably brings this up when they look at the list of the stuff, Marvel Comics is right on there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal, right? So what was your part in Marvel Comics?
So I did some illustrations for their superhero squad, which was it was a cartoon that aired a decade ago.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a very stylized, kind of kid-friendly Marvel comic series, and I got to draw Spider-Man, Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops. It was a whole bunch of illustrations that I didn't actually draw any Marvel comics, but I drew for Marvel Comics.
Okay, yeah.
And it was and Giant Man was another one, Doctor Doom. I got to draw a lot of the classic characters, and it was a lot of fun, and it was neat to get a check for drawing my favorite characters.
Right? I mean, you got a physical one? You put that in a thing, Marvel paid me.
That's right, yes. Yes, and those are the things where you get a selfie. You're look at this.
Yeah.
Marvel Productions, my face. Yeah. That was very satisfying.
That's really cool. Awesome. All right, I got a question for you. I don't know if you know this, but I got a question. Do you actively, in your off time, make and create bass guitars? So I was going to say, you've got to be too busy to be making these bass guitars.
That's right.
They have your name on them, right?
That's right.
So you don't do that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know. You're talking about the much more famous Jerzy Drozd.
Hold on, because you bring me to my second point. Who's more famous, the guy at the top of the Google search or the guy second in Google search? Because you're at the top of the Google search.
Oh, just by name?
Just by name. I put in your name and it popped right up.
That's exciting.
I
did not realize that.
I'm pretty sure. I put in your name just see what pops up here. Find some dirt. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm a bass player myself, and they're
Are you really?
bass. Yeah, sure.
Oh,
these basses are really nice.
Yeah, so I've heard. Yeah, I'm not a musician myself. My brother's a musician.
Is that right?
He tells me that they're good basses, but yes.
I might want to have one just in my office or my room or something. It's got your name right on there.
It's got my name on it.
That's not easy to do. That's hard to recreate. All right. So You mentioned a new project. I don't know if the one that I saw that was coming out, The Inscrutable Dr. Bear and the Case of the Two-Faced Statue.
It's a mouthful, yes.
Yeah, is that the one with the horse, or is that
Yes.
Okay,
That's
cool.
the one with the horse
a new
in it.
horse character. Tell us about that. I always want to hear about what your next project coming up.
Okay, so yeah, it comes out September 2024, and it's a fantasy story for middle grade, and it's about this bear who lives in a spooky old house, and he's the guy you take your cursed objects to. So you get the Gorgon head, you stop the Kraken, what do you do with the Gorgon head?
Yeah.
Right? You put it in a closet. What if your kids find it? That'd be terrible.
I love it.
So you take it to this guy. So he's got this house full of all these objects, which means every wizard in the world wants what's in his house. Well, one gets inside, and all the objects get let out. So he has to go on a quest to get them back.
Yeah.
But once he finds them in their native habitat, he finds out they're not cursed at all. They're actually vessels through which injured spirits have been pleading for help. And he didn't know. So now he has to figure out, well, what do I do now? Do I take them back? No, I can't do that.
Okay.
I have to figure out what my new job is in the world. And hopefully he'll figure it out with the help of his new friends who go on the adventure with him. So it's a spooky, very cute. I described it to my publisher as Hello Kitty meets Doctor Strange. So
that was your elevator pitch?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? From the title to the elevator pitch to the description, I'm very intrigued and still confused. It feels like we're going to need more than just a few pages to explain that whole story. I love it.
Oh, I hope you enjoy it when it comes out. I worked really hard on it.
I'm definitely going to check that out for sure. You guys should check it out as well. Thank you so much for joining us for an interview. And I just always like to, for the opportunity, if you have any parting words that you'd like for any aspiring artists or just anything life like motto or any ideas that you wanted to close out with, this is a good place for that right at the end here.
I would just tell young artists who are trying to find their way in this world to just draw what you love, because that's what the world needs. The world needs to hear what is like the articulated beauty and wisdom of your heart through the art that you make. We really need it, so keep making it.
Well said. Thank you so much, Mr. Drozd. You have fun teaching at our school today. Kids, pay attention in this class, right? This is some really good stuff we have here. We are so lucky to have him join us. And you take care, and I just can't wait until that comes out. I'm going to get one myself for sure.
Thank you.
All right, you take care, friend.
Bye, everybody.